Half the parents in this country with grown children are still sending them money. The average is close to $1,500 a month. And here is the number that stopped me. Parents who are still working are putting more than twice as much into their children's lives as they are putting into their own retirement. Not a little more than twice. Now, I am not going to tell you that helping your kids is wrong, because I do not believe that. What I am going to tell you is why the help never feels like enough, to them or to you, and what actually separates love from the thing that quietly hurts everybody. I am Sam, and this is the conversation nobody has out loud, which is exactly why it goes badly. Let us put the real numbers on the table first, because almost nobody knows them, and knowing them changes how this feels. A survey of 1,000 parents of adult children this year found that about half are providing financial support. That is the highest it has been in 3 years. The average among those who help is about $1,474 a month. Among parents who are still working, the split is the part that should get your attention. On average, they put about $1,589 a month toward their children, and about $673 a month into their own retirement savings. That is 2.3 times more going out to the kids than going into the future. Nearly half of the parents surveyed said they have sacrificed their own financial security to do it. 79% of them said they worry about whether they will be able to retire comfortably. And roughly 1 in 5 said they cut their retirement savings specifically to keep the support going. I want you to sit with that combination for a second, because it is unusual. These are not people who do not know. 4 out of 5 of them know exactly what it is costing them. They are doing it anyway. Which means the interesting question is not financial. If it were financial, the numbers would have already ended the discussion. The interesting question is what the money is actually for. So let me give you 3 reasons. The help never feels like enough. Not 3 tips. 3 mechanisms, and I think most people watching will recognize at least one of them from inside their own house. Reason 1. Money is the only fluent language many of us have. If you were raised in a house where nobody said much, and you spent 40 years showing love by fixing the car, covering the deposit, and quietly handing somebody a folded bill at the door, then money is not a transaction to you. It is vocabulary. It is how you say, I am proud of you, and I am worried about you, and I am still your father. And here is the trap. When money is your vocabulary, the only way to say something more strongly is to give more, so the amount climbs. Not because the need climbed, but because the feeling did. I have watched a man double what he sent his son the month after his son stopped calling as often. He would not have described it that way. He would have said the boy is having a hard year. But the timing was not about the boy's year. It was about the phone. Reason 2. Guilt does not accept payment. A lot of parents in this position are carrying something older than the current bill. A divorce. A stretch of years when work took everything. A time when the family had less than the neighbors, and the kids felt it. A choice they made in 1998 that they have never once said out loud, you cannot pay that off. But you can try to pay it off monthly, and that is exactly what many people are doing without knowing it. The tell is simple. If a payment brings relief for about 2 days and then the weight comes back, you are not solving a cash problem. You are buying a short lease on a feeling, and the price of that lease goes up. Reason 3. Help without a shape has no end. This is the practical one, and it is the one that does the most damage to both sides. Most family support has no number, no timeline, and no name. Nobody said $500 a month for 8 months while she finishes the certification. It just started, one emergency at a time, and then it became the weather. Support without a shape is bad for the parent, because there is no point at which they get to feel they have done enough. There is no finish line, so there is no relief, so the guilt from reason 2 never resolves. And it is worse for the child than people realize. An open-ended arrangement quietly says something the parent never intended to say, which is, I do not think you can do this. Nobody says that out loud. But a 34-year-old feels it every single month, and the way that feeling usually shows up is not gratitude. It is avoidance. Fewer calls, shorter visits, a little defensiveness, which the parent reads as ingratitude and answers with more money, and now the machine has a full loop and it runs on its own. So where is the line? Where does love end and enabling begin? I have thought about this for a long time, and I do not think the line is the amount. I have seen $2,000 a month be entirely healthy and $300 a month be corrosive. The line has 3 parts, and here they are. First, does the money have a shape, a number, a timeline, and a purpose? $1,200 a month toward the apartment for 1 year while she gets licensed. That is support. Whatever you need, indefinitely, is not support. It is a subscription with no cancel button. Second, do you know what it costs you in your own numbers? Not vaguely. Actually. If you cannot say what this does to your own retirement date or your own reserve, you are not making a decision, you are having a reflex. And I want to be clear about what I mean. Knowing the cost and choosing to pay it anyway is a legitimate, honorable choice. Many parents would rather have a smaller retirement than watch a child struggle, and I am not here to argue them out of that. Not knowing is the problem. Not deciding is the problem. Third, can everybody say it out loud? Can you tell your spouse the real number? Can your child say it to their partner without flinching? Money that has to stay quiet is usually money that somebody already knows is not right, and secret support inside a marriage is the single most reliable way I know to turn a generous act into a resentment that outlives everyone involved. Shape, cost, viable. If all three are true, keep helping and stop feeling bad about it. If one is missing, that is the one to fix, and you fix it with a conversation, not with a spreadsheet. So let me give you the conversation, because most people know they need to have it and stall for 2 years on how to open it. Here are 3 sentences. The first one, I want to keep helping you, and I need to change how we do it. Notice what that sentence does. It does not open with a complaint, and it does not open with numbers. It leads with the fact that the help continues, which takes the fear out of the room before you say anything difficult. Most of these conversations fail in the first 10 seconds, because the child hears a door closing and stops listening to everything that comes after. The second one, here is the number, and here is when it changes. Say the actual amount and the actual date. $900 a month through June. Then we talk again. A date is not a punishment. A date is the difference between support and a slow disappearance of your own future. And I found that grown children handle a specific number far better than they handle an ambiguous cloud of help, because ambiguity makes them feel like a case rather than a person. The third one. This is what it cost me, and I am choosing to pay it. This is the one people skip, and it is the one that changes everything, not as a guilt trip, as information. Your children genuinely do not know. Most adult kids assume their parents are more comfortable than they are, because that is what parents spent 30 years carefully projecting. When you say the true cost out loud, 2 things happen. The transfer stops being invisible, and your child gets to be an adult who has been trusted with the truth, which is usually the exact moment they start moving. And then the hard part. Say it once, and then let the silence sit. Do not fill it. Do not soften it. Do not immediately offer more to make the discomfort go away, because that is the reflex from reason 1, and it will undo the whole conversation in 4 seconds. 3 situations come up so often that they deserve their own word, because the 3-part test lands differently in each. The first is the crisis that turned into a season, a layoff, a divorce, an illness. The help started as an emergency, and emergencies are exactly what family money is for. But an emergency has an end, and a season does not, and the danger here is that nobody ever declares the emergency over. If it started as a crisis and you are now in month 19, the kind thing is not to keep going silently. It is to say out loud that the crisis phase has ended and we are now deciding what the next phase looks like. The second is the grandchildren, and this one is genuinely harder. Paying for a grandchild's activities or school or braces feels different, because it is, and because the person you are actually helping did not choose any of this. I do not think you apply the same standard here that you apply to a grown child's car payment, but I would still apply one part of the test, which is the second one. Know what it cost you. A grandparent who quietly runs their own reserve down to nothing has not protected that grandchild. They have just moved the problem 18 years down the road to a family that will then be paying for 2 generations at once. The third is the child who does not ask. Some parents send money to a son or daughter who never requested it and never mentions it, and in those cases the money is often doing something for the parent rather than for the child. That is worth being honest with yourself about. If the recipient never brings it up, ask yourself who the payment is really soothing. Now let me say the other side of this, because I think a certain kind of person needs to hear it. If you are helping your children, and it has a shape, and you know what it costs, and you can say it out loud, and you would still make the same choice, then you are not doing anything wrong. You are doing something that human beings have done in every generation. Money moving down the family line is not a modern failure. What is new is that it now happens at exactly the age when the person giving it can no longer earn it back. That is the whole risk, and it is the only reason I made this episode, not the generosity, the timing. There is a version of this where a parent gives quietly for 11 years, never says a number, never sets a date, and ends up at 78 with a shortfall and a child who never quite launched. Everybody in that story meant well. Nobody in that story is a villain. That is what makes it worth talking about. And there is a version where a parent says, "Here's what I can do, here is when it ends, Here is what it cost me, and I love you enough to be honest about all three. That family usually comes out the other side with both the money and the relationship intact. Same generosity. Different shape. Unnecessary note. I am not a financial advisor, an accountant, or a therapist, and this is general education, not advice about your family or your finances. The survey figures cited here are from published 2026 research and describe averages, not your household. If money moving between generations is a big part of your picture, talk it through with a professional who can see your actual numbers. Now I would like to hear from you, and be honest, because the comments on these are the most useful part of the channel. If you are helping a grown child, does it have a shape, a number, and a date? And if you stopped or changed it, how did that conversation actually go? Somebody reading tonight is rehearsing that exact talk in their head. If this was useful, subscribe. The next one I would send you to is the one on why lifelong savers cannot bring themselves to spend, because it is the same machinery pointed inward instead of outward. I am Sam. Write it down, then go cut the grass.